All right, we're going to get started here. Kind of coming here a little bit late. We had some power issues here in Pittsburgh. We had some crazy winds last night. So we had some power outages, and I was trying to get everything together for you guys. So I'm a little bit late, so I apologize. But let's get started here. Week 2, live lecture 1. You guys wrapped up week 1. I was pretty impressed by all the papers that I went through this weekend. Great job with your research, and hopefully that part of the process is going to help you go forward with your concepts for your campaign themes. The concepts for your campaign theme will definitely benefit if you went through all of your research and focused like you did in your papers on the target audience, you know, kind of thinking about strategies for that certain audience, and just knowing the different strategies that we talked about in week 1 that you can definitely tap into that are effective for your campaign pieces. This week we're going to be looking at the differences between motivational design and information design, informative. And so we'll be discussing that, and then we will be creating billboards, so that'll be the first identity piece for your campaign, and then we're going to be going right into your web ad after that's created. So lots of things to go over. Just a little recap, or actually let's go through some of the daily maintenance things going on here. The announcements. Just make sure you're getting your work in by Saturday before midnight, week 2 work. Your discussion post needs to be posted before Wednesday for possible full credit. And don't forget to respond to at least 2 separate peers on different dates for possible full credit. A lot of you guys got started early on the discussion. Great job. I will be reviewing that today. So if you have any questions, let me know. Okay, just a little recap of where we left off last week in lecture 2, week 1. We talked about who creates advertising. We also defined advertising campaigns and showed examples. And then we went over your assessment 1 overview. I didn't quite do a demo on that because it was more of a paper, but we did do an overview and you know, answered any questions that you had. So today we're going to look at, I just pulled, I think I pulled a couple, but I kind of went in my folder and I only see 1, so I might have only 1 to show you guys. Just assignment 1, these aren't really, I guess they're design pieces in regards to how you guys laid them out. There were a few of you that didn't quite lay out your creative briefs as specified in the assignment, so just make sure that you are kind of giving it a little bit more of an aesthetic to it, but I will show an example just so you guys kind of understand what we're looking for. We'll take a look at your discussion 2, see if you have any questions about that. We're going to go over the 5 rules of effective billboard design, because you guys will be designing a billboard, and then we'll go right into your assignment 2, do an overview and a demo. All right, before we actually get into all of that, let's go ahead and get into Canvas here. And go into your week 2. We're just going to kind of read over the objectives here. These were also listed in announcements. These are the things that you guys will be walking away from, learning, and doing in week 2. So you're going to identify 2 similarities and 2 differences between informational and motivational advertising. List 3 common calls to action in advertising. Identify 3 common types of motivation in advertising, and use repetition to create multiple advertisements that work as a cohesive campaign. So don't worry, don't forget, you guys are going to be, this whole campaign piece is for the home show. So just kind of keep that in mind. So this course has you creating a trade show booth. Here's a great short video that tells you what trade shows are, but has a cool twist, how going to them yourself can help you with networking to get hired or finding clients. So let's go ahead and take a look at this quick little video here.
Hi friends, Beth Beth Bridges, Membership Director for the Clovis Chamber of Commerce and the Networking Motivator. Trade shows. Hey, what is a trade show? Why would you go to a trade show? And how would you make the most of time spent at a trade show? A trade show is an exhibition of businesses, and they are showcasing their products or services. So they'll have booths. Sometimes it's very large and elaborate booths. Sometimes it's an event where it's a tabletop for each business. Why would you go? Let's assume you're going and you're not having a booth of your own. Why would you go? Why would you invest that time to go to this event? If it's local, and I want to focus on a local trade show, you get the opportunity to meet new businesses. You get to see who's marketing, who's growing, who's promoting, and you'll probably find services or products that you need, or sometimes that you didn't know you need until you see it. It's also, of course, a great networking opportunity because you get to introduce yourself to the businesses who are exhibiting. Of course, no selling to those businesses. It's not illegal, but it's really cheesy. You also get to network, though, with the other people who are attending the trade show. And that's how you get the most out of going to a trade show. Arrive early, I suggest, so you have the chance to see booths and still have time to meet other people who are at the show. Take plenty of business cards, of course, because you'll put it in the bucket, usually for a giveaway at those business booths. But it's not about winning the door prize. It's about them being aware that you stopped by and them seeing your information and your logo. Feel free to introduce yourself to other people who are walking around the show because they are there to network as well. And finally, I think the most important way to make sure you get the biggest value, the best return on your investment of time in going to that trade show is to follow up with anyone you met who is interested in talking to you some more. I suggest sending a thank you note or just some sort of acknowledgement to the exhibitors that you stopped and talked to. How greatly appreciated would that be? Usually they're the ones sending the thank you notes. Stand out from the crowd and send them a thank you note. And of course, take the time to learn about other people. That's what networking is about to a great extent, is finding out what you can do, what you can learn about them, and then what you can do to give value to them. Thank you very much, friends. We'll see you soon. Again, Beth Bridges, Membership Director with Clovis Chamber and the Networking Motivator.
All right, so some good information there just about what trade shows are, what the purpose of them is, and kind of how you can, benefit if you are going to one or are in one. So a couple things to think about there. All right, so as we go forward, don't forget to check out, I'm sorry if you can hear my dog barking in the background. Just nice little background noise there. But don't forget to go into your reading and videos and check out week 2 required reading articles and videos. For week 2, they're going to be talking about what are the major differences between informative and persuasive advertising. This is pretty much what we're going to be talking about in your discussion. So content cover types of informative advertising, types of motivational advertising, and then methods for both types of advertising. So definitely check out this link, read through some of the differences here in regards to that, okay? So that is important to take a look at. There's 10 consumer behavior facts every designer needs to know about. Check that out. It's an AIGA link. Let me get rid of this link here. It covers common hurdles to reaching your target audience, how to overcome those hurdles, and how to motivate your target audience. So all very good to take a look at for your campaign pieces that you are going to be creating soon. You develop a message that effectively communicates a benefit to target audience. There's also videos here, The Art of Rhetoric, the persuasive techniques in advertising, and it talks about the 3 classical means to motivate, so it kind of breaks it down. There's some really good information with psychology and advertising. I think that's always very interesting, the science of persuasion. how to persuade an audience to say yes. So some really nice, really cool resources in here all the way down to the lynda.com playlist, which kind of goes into chapter 2 and chapter 3, analyzing your business and developing your strategy. And so kind of goes into more detail about targeting your audiences and setting goals. So definitely check that out. You know, it's a nice kind of add-on, and also, you know, required requirements for week 2 here. All right, so as we go forward, some of you guys got started on this, so this is great. We're going to be looking at the differences between informational advertising and motivational advertising. Just kind of heads up, motivational advertising is also can be termed emotional, and I believe it can also be called transformative as well. So there's different ways that you can say motivational. It's kind of like the same thing as the emotional advertising. So just if you're looking for information, and you're not finding anything under motivational, that's could be a good keyword to use. So basically what you're going to do is read through the background information. It's just going to give you a little bit of a synopsis of those two types of advertising and what the purposes of them are. And then I'm going to go to the prompt here. So I'm going to read through this. Let me know if you have any questions along the way. You know, feel free to contact me about this. Okay, so I think this is kind of an interesting discussion because it gives you a visual example and kind of a scenario that you have to take a look at and examine. So you recently did a logo refresh for a local electronics store, While dropping off the deliverables, the store owner starts talking to you about an email ad for a new camera they will be carrying in the next month. His nephew just took a Photoshop course in high school and he created the ad for free. The store owner likes the ad, that the ad was free, but wants to run it by you to see if it's going to be effective in getting customers to buy the camera. Here's the ad. So you can see right there, that's what the ad looks like. Number 1, which category does this ad fall under? Motivational or informational? What would you say and why? Why would you say that? Number 2, is it the best category to use? Why or why not? And number 3, is the ad design and deal for selling the new camera? If so, why? If not, why not? And how would you fix it? So, you know, you might start off your discussion by kind of explaining the differences between informational and motivational advertising, and then, you know, kind of answer these questions and then support your perspective with your citations. So for your citation, you might use articles that show examples of informational and motivational advertising. You can also find articles from experts that suggest common ways to motivate in advertising. And then don't forget to, you know, kind of push each other, challenge each other. So if you see it, somebody is seeing it in another way, you know, pose a different perspective to them respectfully there. Don't forget to also, you know, don't forget to post based on the specifications here. At least have 1 APA citation reference, 2 follow-ups, 50 plus words for the response, and 150 words for your initial response. All right, if you don't know how to embed an image, this is kind of a little how-to kind of gives you an idea of how to do that within the discussion. So you can see, you know, any kind of examples that you're posting. All right, so I think this is pretty straightforward, and we're going to talk about this just a little bit here in the lecture. So informative versus motivational. So what is informative advertising? I think it's kind of common sense, but let's see how it's broken down according to the Business Dictionary. Informative advertising is any kind of promotion that educates the public on what are the benefits and features of a product, what it does or can do, how it compares with competing or similar products in value and benefit, and where it can be bought. It is normally followed by persuasive and brand-building advertising. So informative advertising relies on facts and figures to inspire consumers' actions. So that's more of the informative side of advertising. The motivational advertising, what is that? It appeals to your audience's emotions. It can be achieved through strong imagery, impactful text, or powerful music. An emotional advertising appeal depends more on feeling and perception than logic or reason to provoke action. And here's a link here. Let me type this in so we can take a look at it. It just has some different types of motivational advertising that I wanted to share with you guys. Hold on 1 second. I didn't quite have this on up here like I should have. All right. I like this this example on this website because it shows all kinds of different motivational advertising in a different, so it shows 23 types of advertising. So there's emotional, so it appeals to your audience's emotions. That's kind of what we're talking about. It can be achieved through strong imagery, impactful text, or powerful music. And emotional advertising appeal depends more on feelings and perception than logic or reason to provoke action. So here is showing you an example. This print ad by Gillette not only uses mixed media to catch attention, sandpaper and a magazine, but also appeals to the personal concerns of fathers. The ad states that research shows how important skin-to-skin contact is for infants and questions what kind of razor smooth finish they want to share. While the personal appeal is directed towards new fathers, those without children will understand the message of quality. It's kind of interesting. And then it goes into, you know, social appeal and all of the other based on fear and humor, endorsements. We kind of talked about some of these, but the emotional part is basically what we are talking about in your discussion here. So that is what that kind of we're talking about that. So think about that. Not only in the discussion, but also, you know, going forward with your concepts for your campaign. You know, which one do you think, you know, is the more effective approach to go to? Okay. Let's go ahead and see here. Hold on 1 second. Yeah, we're going to take a look at assignment 2 now. We have some things to review after that, but let's go ahead and take a look. We'll dive into that right away here. Okay, so let me know if you have any problems or questions about the discussion. Hopefully that was pretty clear as to what is expected. All right, so here we go. The fun part begins. We're going to be doing some billboard advertisements here. So exciting, exciting. All that hard work that you put into researching your client, the brand, target audience, competitors are all coming into play right now. All right, so when creating a campaign comprised of several individual pieces, like you were doing in this course, it is important that all the parts relate to each other in a way that shows that they go together. This way, each piece can build upon others and have a stronger impact than any of them could have on their own. Your biggest tool for accomplishing this is repetition. Sometimes the repetition is significant, with imagery, wording, and layout staying consistent throughout the campaign. Sometimes it is more subtle, like color palettes, themes, fonts, placement of the logo, etc. Which works best depends on the campaign. Because this repetition will affect every piece in the campaign, it's important that it is considered and planned before the first piece is designed. Consider the campaign as a whole and each piece that makes it up and decide what elements you plan to repeat. Then implement that plan from start to finish. Okay, so here's the prompt. This is what you are to do. So there are often several steps between the first impression in a campaign and a sale. In the case of our Most Home campaign, we need to convince our audience to attend the home show and specifically stop by the Most Home booth before we can sell them a lock. So Most Home has decided to do this with a billboard ad. Because of the limited amount of time in which our audience can give their attention to our ad as they drive past, it's important that the message is brief and compelling. You and the client have decided a motivational ad is the best way to accomplish this. Remember that a motivational ad needs to create an emotion that will motivate the audience. There are 3 pieces of information that are vital for the ad to be effective. The home show is taking place at South City Convention Center. The home show is from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. on May 24th, and the product website. So using InDesign or Illustrator, design a motivational billboard ad. Make sure to include the date and location of home show and call to action that is appropriate for the goal of the ad. Also, make sure the ad is branded to Most Homes specifically and fits within the design plans for the other pieces in the campaign. Your billboard ad dimensions are as follows. So the true 100% size is 48 feet by 15 feet. Now it's pretty big. Now you're going to keep your file size down for submission. So you can use a ratio of 1/4 of an inch for every foot. So that equals, you'll do 12 inches long by 3.25 inches high. Color mode will eventually be, once you save it out, CMYK and the resolution 300 pixels per inch. You're going to click here to download the logo and provided imagery. It includes Most Homes logo and 6 images. You do not need to use all of the images. Choose what works best for your design concept. You're going to eventually, when you're done, export as a PDF, and you're going to save that PDF, submit it for evaluation. All right, so this is all of the required information that needs to be on there. That doesn't mean that you actually have word for word here. You could just take all this off and just have where it's at. So you don't have to use all of the words here. You could just have where it's at, just the date, and then just the website, and maybe rework it so it's not all of this wording. It shouldn't actually be, shouldn't have, say, the home show is taking place, the home show is from. You shouldn't have that all listed anyway. So I'll kind of show you as I go forward in the demo. All right, so yeah, come up with some sketches first. I think that would be good. Hopefully you guys are kind of doing that in the process, coming up with some sketches and concepts, ideas. Think about the strategies in motivational advertisements. So in that being said, let's take a look at some motivational billboards. So you can also look at billboards that may be very similar to what you're doing. I just looked at this, just keywords. You can see a lot of interesting things here. All right, so I would just do kind of like a nice little search and see what's out there. Do your sketches, start coming up with a plan. And then I'm going to start this in Illustrator. So let me go ahead and create this file here. So it's 12 by 3.25. So I just went up to File, New, and you're going to just put in 12 inches, make sure it says inches, by 3.25. Okay. You can go into advanced options and you can change this now or right before you save out. This is where you would save or redo the color mode. You want to make sure your raster effects under advanced options is 300 pixels per inch. And I already hit create. So this is kind of what your the size of it will look like. Okay. Now you're given a folder, and that folder that you download, let me go to it here so you guys can see. It's called Most Home Assets. So it looks like this. So these are all the images that you'll see in that folder. Let me try and make this bigger here. I don't know if I can make this any, there we go. So here's the folder, and it has about 6 images with a logo. So I'm just gonna kind of show you really quickly here. You have the key with the door lock. You have the smartphone with the little lock on the front screen. You have a more abstract collaged image here, looking very cyberistic. You have a cell phone with a little shield. And again, another more digital type of an aesthetic here. And then you have an actual door lock. And then here is the logo. Now, I would say, open that logo up too separately because you might need to, it's an AI file. So if you need to reverse out the color, say if you're going to use a darker color, you would need to ungroup this, save this as white, for example. I'll kind of show you in a second. So you might need to do that. So just to let you know, that's an AI file. All right, so, coming up with different concepts, you may do 3 different art boards and kind of, once you're done with your sketches, you might kind of play around with different typefaces that would work and just kind of rearranging your elements, come up with, 2 or 3 different ideas, and then hone in on one idea for your submission. All right, so for mine, I like the idea of using kind of facts, but in a way that it kind of balances your the motivational part. And I'll show you kind of what I mean by that. It's kind of hard to explain here, but I found this very interesting infographic. I don't think it's like the best infographic design-wise, but I like the fact that it has a lot of factual information about home burglaries. So I just did a Google search about home burglary facts, and I liked some of these in here because they were short and sweet and to the point. So I was thinking of maybe using some of these facts as part of my motivation of coming to the home show and looking into this brand and actually buying the lock. Some of the quotes are: homes with a security system are 3 times less likely to be burglarized. 60% of burglars use forced entry. 65% home burglaries happen during business hours. The highest percentage of burglaries occur during the summer months. A home burglary happens every 13 seconds in the United States. The average loss per burglary in the U.S. is $2,185. A household member is home in 28% of burglaries. That's kind of scary. The master bedroom is the first. Sorry, guys, I just accidentally turned on my Siri here. The master bedroom is the first room targeted by burglars, and 33% of burglars enter through the front door. So I can use a lot of these facts throughout my campaign as part of my concept and use them as quotes, for example. So I think the one that I'm going to hone in on, and I can try a couple of these, is, about 30 seconds. I think that's kind of cool to put for a concept here. So with that being said, I'll go back here. And I could try all the different kinds of sayings or the facts here, but I have to choose one for my billboard. So a home burglary happens every 13 seconds. Now I'm going to do it as a quote. I'm not going to put the United States because I think that's pretty to the point for a billboard. Make it bigger. So you want it to be, you know, to the point. You want to choose a typeface that's gonna, you know, align with that. I'm gonna do source code variable. Let's do serif. Okay, it's very simple, easy to read typeface right there. Okay, and I can kind of play around with all the other stuff. Now what I'm gonna do, whoops, open up the wrong thing. I'm gonna go ahead and copy and paste that information that I need to have in there that's required in the instructions. I'm just gonna copy. You can't see what I'm doing right now, but I'm just going back into your assignment to copying, and now I'm gonna paste it in here on my artboard. Now I'm going to kind of get rid of this information in the front, so it's not really needed. And as far as that too, it's not really needed. So I'm going to get rid of that, and then I'm going to get rid of this. So keep it very, very simple. Now you can always word this differently. It doesn't have to be just this simple. You can have something like a call out before that. Just getting this ready to go. Okay. So my quote and my idea behind this is to do something very simple that's going to read very quickly. If you're driving down the road and you see a home burglary happens every 30 seconds, wow, you know, like, I got to do something about this, right? That's kind of shocking. I didn't know this until I was looking more into it, that like, that's pretty crazy. That is, that's alarming. So, no, so now what I need to do is kind of make a call out, you know, so in this regards, you know, the focal point here is basically my text. I can kind of add to this by adding in color. You know, I can play around with my concept, and my focal point image is really my copy here. Making it definitely contrasted. I don't know if I'm going to go with this black, but we'll just kind of show you real quick. And then don't forget, we have the logo to put in here. This has to go in there because that's the logo, that's the brand. So I'm going to go copy and paste. Now, if I need to, because this is a darker background, change this copy, I can ungroup it and just select the copy to do so. And then again, just kind of scaling this down so that it works. This doesn't have to be huge. It could be on the smaller side, definitely smaller than that. Okay, so, but you want to make sure that this is on here for sure. Okay, so the next thing is, and it all depends on how you want to do this. I'm actually going to show you a couple different different strategies here. So let me bring up my artboards. Once I get all my copy in here, I'll duplicate this one so that you can see, you know, how I can fit all this in different ways. I'm going to make this a lot smaller just because I'm setting up my hierarchy. If this was as big as this, people won't really, you know, as far as the headline, people won't know where to look first, second, third. So I'm pulling them in with my quote here, and then hopefully, you know, bringing them back to, you know, the call out, which is right here. All right. So, you know, in regards to this, I could leave it as simple as this. A home burglary happens every 30 seconds. Then I can answer it below with something like, you know, something like, don't waste any time, come visit us. Okay. I mean, I won't even say don't waste your time, come visit us to secure your home. It might be something very simple that you can state after the fact. So that could be a little smaller than that. All right. So now is the idea of, okay, how do we balance all of these, all of the elements? And do we, you know, obviously we want to bring an image in here. How can we do that so that it's effective? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste the same artboard. So we have 3 going on here at the same time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to rearrange these so that they're stacked, okay? So I think it's easier to show it this way. All right, so I'm gonna take a look at what I have image-wise. You know, what would be the most effective picture for this? Well, we have some really cool images here that we can take a look at. I'm gonna do file place and place this one in here. I probably would put this one on the right just because this guy here is cut, you know, kind of almost cut off on the right-hand side, so it just makes sense. Oops. Bring all this to the front. Now, obviously, I can't read all this information over here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this a little differently. And move this stuff up. So it's just kind of like rearranging everything. All right. So I'm just kind of aligning this so it works best for the image that's given. You know, I tried to blow up the image before just to see what that would look like, but it looks like, whoops, that the image might get a little pixelated. So I don't really want to mess around with that. Okay, maybe this all is one line. I'm putting just 2 spaces in between with a nice little bullet point. The bullet point is Alt Option 8 on a Mac. So you can kind of see, whoops, I got my layer here. You can kind of see all this coming together. Now what I might do is kind of take this image into Photoshop and just gradiate. Oh, actually I could do that here too. Do a little gradation here. I'm just going to choose the little gradient tool. I forgot I had that option. Okay, hold on a second. And then I'm going to do another kind of box over top of this, and I'm going to make that the same color, black. But I'm going to give this a gradient on the right. Let's see here, the gradient. Oops, let's do black fill. Hold on, you guys. Nope. Undo, undo, undo. Here we go. All right. Okay. We want the translucent one, so let's go. Okay. It's not doing this for, I thought this was actually going to do a little differently here. So hold on one second. There's a transparent one. I thought in here, but maybe I'm thinking InDesign. Transparency, make mask. We don't want that. Hold on one second, guys. I'm going to show options. Yeah, I don't know. You might have to just take this picture in Photoshop and do it manually. So I can show you that in a second here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to align this. So I'm going to show my rulers. Oops. And then I'm going to drag out my guide so that I know that I'm just perfectly aligning everything. You know, my copy is all aligned. And you can also do a shift select all of these elements and do your own alignments from your align. There we go, from your alignment panel box. Okay, I'm going to pull this up a little bit, pull this together because these two can read together. Proximity is important, and make sure that this kind of has just enough breathing room here. All right, so the only thing I need to do is just kind of make this a little bit more transparent. I'm going to save this. Week 2, assignment 2. Okay. Save. And as we're talking here, I'm going to open up Photoshop. So I'll show you kind of how to kind of change the image if you need to make that copy, you know, you're able to see it. Just give me 1 second here. But you can see that this is definitely larger than your other points here. I can even make this have some sort of, you know, different color to kind of make it more, you know, kind of bring it out a little bit more. I can make certain things like the time and the day a little bit more bold. All that good stuff here. All right, so I open up Photoshop, so I'm going to switch over to that. I'm going to open up just that file of the image that I want to use, that I kind of want to revise here. So give me 1 second. Pull that up. And there is a way, I think in InDesign, that you can do a gradient box. That's kind of what I was trying to figure out how to do that. In Illustrator, probably is a way too, but it's escaping me right now. So we'll just open it up in Photoshop. All right, why isn't this viewing? That's really weird. I have something weird going on with my Photoshop here. Hold on 1 second. It's not showing the image. I know you guys can't see what I'm doing, but let's do a restart here. Give me a second. Maybe that's all I need. All right. There we go. I just had to do a restart, so something was going on there. All right, so here's the image. I'm going to unlock it. This is in Photoshop. I'm going to go to image size, image size. And this is something that you'll want to do anyway, because even if you're not going to do anything to the image itself, because right now, look how big it is. It's 65.2 megabytes. And that's because it's a low resolution at a very high, at a very large scale. So what you want to do is, where it says resolution, we're going to type in 300. And we're going to uncheck the resample. So when it resamples, look how the inches become a little smaller. And then obviously the size will reduce too. So click OK. Image size, again, you can check it out. And you can also downsize this. So we're only doing like, let's see, what are we using this as? In the actual image itself, I'm going to go to, and I know you can't see this. I'm just kind of in Illustrator right now. It's showing me as using my image right now as 5.2 inches by 3.3. So really, I just need it to be like 6 inches by 4. So I'm going to change this to 6 inches, resample, and check resample so that we're fixing the pixels per inch. Look how it drastically went down from 65.2 megabytes to 5 megabytes. That's huge. Click OK. Now I'm going to save as, so I know that this is the one that I changed. And I'm going to save this as for placement so that I know that's the one to use. And I'm going to save it as, it's fine as a PDF. Typically, what you want to do is save it as a TIFF file. Let me go ahead and do that. That's like the good, kind of the good habit to get in. TIFF files are what you really want for a printed piece there. Okay, I'm going to go back to my Illustrator. You can post any of those, like PDF or a TIFF, but TIFF is usually the go-to. And I'm going to place this back in here. So I'm going to go File. Oops, sorry, hold on. File, Place. And I'm going to look for that for placement only TIFF. And I'm going to go ahead and just place it in here. There we go. Looks good. Make sure everything else goes above it. All right. Now, the only thing I forgot to do is obviously change this part. So I'm going to go back to Photoshop. I kind of got sidetracked there. It was showing you the size. So I just want to make this side darker. So what I'm going to do is just do a new layer. I'm going to put that underneath the old layer. I'm going to sample the color back here. I'm just going to take a little sample. I'm going to go Edit Fill, because I'm going to fill this layer with that color. Make sure it says foreground color, because that's going to fill that foreground color with that color I just sampled. So it's closest to this background color. If I were to hide this layer, you can see that color is right behind it. That's what we want. Go back up to your first layer and then use your gradient tool. And we're going to do a shift and kind of drag over. Now there's another way you can do this too. You can do a, let's see here. That kind of makes it darker. You can also do a, let's see, image adjustment. Give me 1 second, guys. I don't know why I'm kind of drawing a blank here. Oh, that's what I know what I was going to do. Okay, just do an adjustment layer. That way you can always change it. So what you could do is an adjustment layer. Here, hold on 1 second. Adjustment layer. I guess we could do something different too. I'm trying to think of all the layer styles and all that good stuff. There we go. So I just did kind of like an adjustment layer so that I'm affecting not the image itself, but below that image. So I'm kind of giving it a little less, I'm not taking away from the actual image itself. It's actually the adjustment layer. So I just went up to layer, if you want to see that again, new adjustment layer, and then I chose gradient map. All right, so I'm going to save this. And I'm going to go back into Illustrator. Okay. And I'm probably still showing Photoshop, so give me 1 second here. So I'm going back into Illustrator. See how it's a little darker now? I'm gonna bring these up to the front. And if it needs to be even darker, we can definitely go a little darker. It looks like it might need, I can see some of the edge, and I don't want to see that edge. I want to see it as like a nice fade. So I'm gonna go back and try to change this a little bit. We could also do a layer mask. So let me show you how to do that. If I go back to Photoshop, sorry guys, I'm like going back and forth. Let me throw away this layer mask so you can see what I just did. So if you select that top layer, you can just put a mask on it by selecting the mask down here by the FX button. Choose your gradation and then just do a shift to the right, depending on what you want to kind of get rid of there. Now I don't want that line to appear, you know, where I kind of saw it before. So I'm just gonna hold my, you know, obviously I don't want to start at the line. I want to go inward a little bit. Save that, and then I'm just gonna place it back into my Illustrator file. Sometimes it takes a little finesse and a couple of times to figure out what you need. Oops. And what looks good in your actual, you know, it's still showing that. That's really weird. I think it's because my my blacks don't match here. So I'd probably match up my blacks. That's kind of where that line is happening. So that's what I'll have to do. All right, I'm going to take a quick break, and we can I can kind of show you different layouts that you can try. I'll be right back. Okay, looks like the break time is over. A couple things. I want to even this out here while I'm at it. Oops. My guides. All right. And then I also want to make sure that my top and my bottom guides are also equal here. So I just want to bring that back up and then adjust it accordingly. Okay, after kind of looking at this, I think I'm going to do a couple things. I'm going to take Come Visit Us Too. I think that's not really needed. I'm going to say Secure Your Home Now. And I'm going to make this, let's see, left justified. A little bigger. And maybe make it bold. And make this slightly smaller. And some space in between there. I want some nice space in between this, wording and, kind of in between these two sections. Next thing I'm going to do, it's kind of short and sweet and to the point, is I'm going to sample this black. Remember how I said that black isn't quite the same black on that edge? So right now, let's see, I'm going to go all the way to the right here. My black is 75, 68, 67, 90. So I can take a screenshot of this if I need to. And click OK. And I'm going to go back to Photoshop. Remember how I said right here you can see that line? I'm going to get rid of that. So I'm going to go back to Photoshop. Some details here. I'm going to click, whoops, right on my fill because I want this fill to be that black. So I'm going to double click on the fill. And I'm going to make it a rich black. So exactly what I had before at the very right hand corner. That's my black. Fill, foreground color, click OK. So here, it's more of a rich black. So now this should have no problems with it having, oops, that line being shown there. So I'm going to save this. And then I'm going to go back to my Illustrator file here. So I'll show you real quick so you can see the difference. I mean, small things, but definitely can see it. See that little line there? You can see the different blacks. So let me place in the new black TIFF that I just saved. And hopefully you won't be able to see it. Sorry, my dog's going crazy, guys. He's a puppy. There we go. Let's bring this forward too because we lost our logo. Any information needs to come forward right there. All right, so so now if I zoom in, you can't see that line. Looks pretty good. Okay. All right, so that would be my first concept, although I obviously will bring the logo up to meet our guide here. Let's show guides again because I lost that. There we go. I'm going to make this slightly smaller, just a little smaller. There we go. So we can fit in our logo here. The logo doesn't have to be huge. It's the send off here. And then zooming in just to make sure everything's sitting perfectly on that line. It looks pretty good. Okay. So that would be at first concept here. You know, I have all my visual elements going on here, my hierarchy set up. You know, everything's kind of working together nicely. It's all balanced. It doesn't mean that you have to always do it this way. It could be completely different. Try, you know, 3 different concepts, I would say, just to play around with it. You might want to keep it very simple and maybe just use the color of the logo. Let me get rid of that real quick here. Maybe you just want to use the same concept as far as the using a quote like I am, or you know, whatever concept you decided to do, but maybe changing the imagery, typeface. 1 second, I'm trying to find all the pictures here. Here we go. So let's say I go to more of a simple approach to the imagery here. Now again, I would probably want to open this up in Photoshop. Let me go ahead and do that. Because we have to make sure it's the right size, all that good stuff. Okay, so I'm going to open up that image in Photoshop. I'm going to go to image size, and again, see how big this is, 71.5. I'm going to change this to 300 resolution, and I'm going to uncheck resample so it gets to be lower. I'm going to check it again, and I'm going to make this, I'd say probably like 4 or 5 inches. Look how much down, like the smaller size it is now. It's not 71. If you guys leave it at this and don't change this, it's going to be a huge file. So make sure you change that. I'm going to rename this for placement. TIFF file. Save it to my desktop for now so I know where it's at. I can slide it into my folder. Everything else looks good. I'm going to go back to Illustrator. And I'm going to place this back in here. I'm going to go look for that TIFF file that I put on my desktop. So that is the right size, the right everything. Okay? All right, then just kind of play around with it. You know, how can I, you know, use the same concept, only, you know, a different look. You know, using maybe different imagery. Oops. Look at this because I changed this. Wow, he is really barking tonight. I'm really sorry if you guys can hear that in the background. I usually put him in another room and he's not happy with me. Let's just say that. Okay, I'm just centering all of this. And I need to find a center once I get that all ready to go. Okay, so pull this down a little bit. It has my imagery here. I could probably make this a little smaller. Start balancing everything out now. The logo. Paste in the original one. I can make this maybe a little bigger now that I have that one on the other side here. Maybe make this darker blue. Maybe try, do I have something a little darker? All right. So this could be another way that you can do this, just, you know, in a different look, totally different look. So, you know, trying different things is definitely worth your while. Let me go back up to my artboards here. Where's my artboards? I'm going to get rid of this last one. I'm going to copy this one. There we go. Where'd it go? Oh. Okay. I like it stacked. It's just easier to read. All right, another thing that we could try is another image. Let me go back to Photoshop here and open up another image. But you get the idea. You kind of play around with your concept, different imagery that you can implement in there. I didn't try different typefaces. I like the typeface that I chose. I think it works good. But if you kind of want to play around with different typefaces, you can. All right, I'm going to open up this one in Photoshop, image size 300. Okay, this looks pretty good. I'm going to make this a little smaller. So it's not 660 megabytes. Save as. Oh, not revert. Undo revert. I'm going to save as. For replacement only. Oh, for replacement. Let's do TIFF file. Desktop looks good. Okay. Go back to my Illustrator file and try a different layout. Using that image. You can use more than one image if you want, if you think that works too. You can always do a clipping mask so that your image fits perfectly into this size if it's kind of going over the edge. And how you would do that is just take your rectangle, go ahead and click on the artboard, do 12 inches by 3.25, the same size as we made your canvas. Put it right over top. See how that little white overlap is happening right here with this image? Actually, let's give it a no. There we go. Just match it up with your billboard size. So it's empty. It has no line, stroke, or fill. And then shift select the image that you want to clip. Go up to Object, Clipping Mask, and Make, and it clips it right in there. Okay. So if you wanted to crop an image, for instance, now you can release that by going up to, if you need to like make that move down a little bit more, you have to release that clipping mask so that you can move it down if you need to, and then you can clip it again. Okay, so there's different things that you can do. Just kind of play around with it. See what you come up with. You can try different typefaces. Let's try a different one here. You want to make sure it's something that you can read. So you don't want to get too decorative with it. So, a thicker typeface that isn't too crazy that you think would work best. Now look at the typeface in the actual logo itself. It's a serif, sans serif. So you might want to kind of pick something that's a sans serif like this. It kind of matches a little bit better. It's up to you. This one is Geneva. Obviously, it changes everything else. I'm not sure if I like that font. Let's see if we can pick something a little better here. Avenir is always good because it comes with a font family, so you can change it to medium or black, heavy. don't even know. Does this have italic? Yeah, it does. Italic. So play around with that. And then just the images. You can do all kinds of stuff. You can make this look more like a montage, you know, where you're kind of rotating some of the images in here, giving it more of a, let's see, drop shadow effect. Pulling this back a little bit, but I would probably do a similar size image if you want to do like a montage. You could kind of montage it. I'm not sure how effective that is, but kind of balance it out with the logo on the right side. There's also, you know, different ways that you can make this stand out a little bit more. Say at the bottom, if you wanted to have a nice color bar, you know, like a black or something dark. And then you had your information in like a lighter color, like white. You could do something like that where that kind of pops a little bit more. Let's try this. Let's try doing a right adjust or right align. And take out the space right here. There we go. There we go. All right, so we kind of right align this so that we can put, you know, you can even do something like this where you're bringing this image in here again, or let's put this one in there. He is not happy with me. Okay, there we go. You can do something like that. And then make this bigger, obviously. So there's different ways that you can do this. Just make sure you're aligning to a grid. So, you know, for instance, this baseline would align with this information. Adjust this lighting in here a little bit, so it pulls it together a little bit more. There we go. So you can do something like that where it's a little bit more simple. You have the logo here. You can even have this in red, just kind of pop it off. Completely different color there, kind of pops it out of the regular colors. If you want to keep it, you can even do yellow. I would just make it more of a, yeah, it's going to be a problem. Gold yellow. It's probably not going to work too good there. You need more contrast. Pulling from the logo itself. And then here I would probably adjust this so you actually have like these quotes in there. So it just looks a little better. You can also make certain words more bold, you can have them the same color to pop that out a little bit more. A couple suggestions there. Okay. So just some different ideas there. When you're done, you have your concepts that you want to go forward with. Obviously, you're going to pick one, and you're going to save as a PDF. You only need one. You don't need to do three. I just did three just to show you. You could do smallest file size because I'm the only one that's going to be viewing it on my screen, so I don't need a huge file. And then I would recommend looking at this PDF once you're done saving it. Let me scooch this over so I can see my desktop here where I save this. So it should look like this when you're done in terms of a PDF. I'm going to have 3 variations, but this is what mine look like here. Now, what's nice about, using these facts to be a motivator is that I can build off of this as a campaign piece. So maybe my design stays the same, very simple like this, but all I need to do is switch out the quote to another fact that I had. So for example, let me show my desktop so you can see. Remember those facts I showed you? Maybe instead of for my web ad, I'll swap that for 60% of burglars use forced entry, or talking about the average loss per burglary of the DES is $2,185. So I can use those facts in either my web ad, my billboard, my trade show booth, my tear sheet. I can kind of utilize all those facts, but keep the design the same, okay? So once you kind of come up with a concept, you want to carry that through. So if I go with this first concept, I want my other pieces to look very similar. The only difference is obviously the rearrangement of elements based on the size, but I want to keep it very similar in theme. Obviously, I would change a different quote in there, but it would be repetitious in regards to using the quotes, the facts, and also the imagery, the overall contrast, whether I go black in the background or white, whether I do it with, different typeface, I'm keeping that same typeface across the board. So keep that consistency. That's key for a campaign. If the piece looks different in other areas, like too different, there's going to be a disconnect, and you don't want that. People pay good money to have campaigns cohesive enough so that people understand it's coming from the same brand, the same theme, and the same idea, the same product, the same service that they're trying to sell. All right. Let me know if you have any questions, but that's a start. You might not do, obviously your concept will be different than mine. So, think about what your strategy is going to be for your persuasive technique. You want it to be motivational because that's kind of what the assignment calls for. So, if you need extra inspiration, go online, look for inspirational billboards. Doesn't have to be the same brand that we're doing, but check out what other people are doing for inspiration before you get started. Just remember that with a billboard, 6 seconds has been touted as the industry average for reading a billboard. So if you can't see all that information within 6 seconds, you can't read it all and understand it, it's not going to work. So you have to keep it simple. That's kind of to the point. As we're talking about effectiveness of billboards, let's talk about the 5 rules of effective billboard design and advertising. Super, super important. You guys are going to be designing the billboards for this assignment, so it's key to know what works, what doesn't work. So 5 rules. The first one is get your story straight. So if your billboard is on the side of a highway on which people will be literally speeding, then a design without a story simply won't be memorable. So to find your story, think about the one thing you want people to take away from your ad. Do you want them to remember your web address? To be able to recognize your brand the next time they're in the supermarket? Or do you want people to pull off at the next exit for some fried chicken, for example? So use your key message to find the story. So for example, if it's your website, it will allow them to solve that one nagging problem they have. So obviously .com. Your brand needs fun, happiness, and awesome, attractive people love it. Your delightful fried birds will satisfy their cravings and keep them full all the way to Omaha. So you notice a pattern pretty much in those suggestions. So find your story. You can take the key message and give it a meaning. You can solve a problem or evoke an emotion or fulfill a need. Even one they didn't even know they had until they saw your billboard. So billboard design is a visual medium, which means the next step is figuring out how to tell the story through images and text. You'll really want to be strategic when coming up with a design. Here are a few ideas to get you started. So one traditional way to make an impact is by utilizing a short and fun play on words that'll create a chuckle or even a short rhyme that will help your message stick. So, think about that. And I kind of did this in a more serious note with my quotes about burglary, something that will stick with people and draw their attention. Oh, sorry guys, for some reason, my my slide stopped. Hold on one second. I don't know why that did that. That's really weird. Okay, I'm going to have it to show you it in this way. For some reason, it's not viewing in view mode, so I'm going to have to show it to you like this. Sorry, guys. Get your story straight. Number 2. Oh, that's number 1. Sorry. Number 2 is keep it short and sweet and safe. So if you think about it, we just talked about this. The average driver will only have about 5 to 10 seconds to view, 16 seconds to view your billboard design, read any text, and comprehend the message. So in those seconds, the driver could also be glancing from the billboard to the road and back to the billboard again, depending on the severity of traffic. That's even less viewing time on your ads. So one of the most important rules to follow will be keeping your message short, very short. So shoot for a maximum of 7 words or less. And my ad, let me see what my ad had. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Had about 10 words, but then it had obviously, where the send off too. So it was kind of getting close there. So after your initial message, you can consider any other relevant information, as far as a phone number, a logo, location, highway, just like I told you. Just be sure to prioritize the most important information so your billboard doesn't become cluttered or illegible. So it's your hierarchy is what is important. Be loud. So a larger than life size layout is no time to meek. So make sure any text in your design is printed in clean, bold font to ensure the best readability. Also, the larger the font, the more time a driver has to read and understand your message at a glance. So go big. Be colorful. Use bright colors or a bold image in your design to effortlessly attract eyes to your billboard. Contrasting colors within the design will also create an even bigger impact that will help improve the retention of your message. But in order for your image to be effective, you'll want to keep your background simple to ensure the foreground isn't fighting for attention. And stick to one large image or photo that one dynamic image will create much more visual impact than a handful of images that only take a quarter of the layout each. And number 5, check your map. So if you find that you're still in a need of a fun story for your billboard, consider the location where your design will be displayed and use that environment for a clever message. So poke a jab at techies in California's Bay Area, use local slang to read witty to a hungry market or appeal to a hungover motorist leaving Las Vegas. And if they're heading east, that's another opportunity to be funny as they make their way towards Colorado River. I guess they said damn funny, so D-E-M-N funny. You can also take advantage of highways with several miles of territory between towns to pique the interest of any hungry, tired, or bored travelers with simple signage that repeats itself. So have a unique attraction that shouldn't be missed, a comforting rest stop for a traveler in need of amenities. If so, let drivers know of the closing distance between them and your destination by setting up several designs placed miles apart from each other. So let drivers know they're almost there. No need to be clever if you don't want to, but your message will still need to be short, bold, and legible. All right. So that's, I know probably some of you have seen that before in certain, I know when I was going to the beach in the Outer Banks, they have that kind of on the last stretch of the highway there, kind of like you're almost there, kind of like motivating you, but also advertising, local restaurants and shops and entertainment. All right. So that is the assignment. You guys will be coming up with hopefully a very effective billboard design, and you will only be submitting one, so don't confuse my 3 examples. That was just to show you different concepts, but you'll be submitting that through assignment 2 for evaluation before Saturday. We are going to be meeting again on Wednesday, so if you have anything that you want to show, get a second opinion on, bring that in. We definitely will have time for that. If you need ideas, inspiration, bring that in. We're going to be going over your web ad on Wednesday, so we'll have other things they'll take a look at as well. But definitely let me know if you have any questions. If you're kind of hitting any kind of roadblocks in regards to coming up with concepts. But if you did the research and you're looking up inspirational examples, and you went through all of week 1's research, you should be good with coming up with an effective solution for this. Keep it simple. Make sure you have proper hierarchy, proximity. Pay attention to those basic foundations, basic elements of design, the principles of design as well. That's something that you should always be aware of and be mindful of, and also paying attention to those details in everything that you do when you design any type of layout. All right, this is where I'm going to wrap it up. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll be seeing you guys on the boards, and I hope to see you on Wednesday for the second live lecture. All right, have a good day.